Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Faith in America Today on True Chat, broadcasting from Studio 2A in Cincinnati, Ohio. I'm your host, Tim Weller.
And I'm Jim Lillibridge. We're happy to have with us once again our special guest, Allie.
Hi, I'm Allie Matuzik. I'm a student at Xavier University.
And we'll get the show started really quickly here, but just a little background. This is episode 3, so we're still all kind of new to this. And we do want to take a minute just to share with you our mission. Faith in America Today seeks to restore hope and patriotism by suppressing polarization. We will rise above and journey beyond prejudice to help you become your best self and to help America shine its light on the values of faith, freedom, understanding, and cooperation. So this is a big task. It's all about this huge problem we have in this country called polarization and the result of polarization that we refer to as dehumanization. We're going to start this episode, though, with a brief review of the research that we talked about on last week's show and kind of summarizing what we learned from the article that ran on November 16th of 2016, Politics Nation article on the NBC News website. The first conclusion was that the 2016 presidential election exposed even deeper divides over race, ethnicity, and culture. The second conclusion was that feeling forgotten by the Obama's economic prosperity programs, white Christians, Rust Belt, and rural regions put Trump over the top. The third conclusion was, 25 years ago, white Christians were the majority in both parties. And today, it's quite different. Now, the GOP is the party of white Christians, and the Democrats are the party of religious, racial, cultural, and ethnic diversity. And the final conclusion, therefore, was that we are now a nation split into two large coalitions with radically different desires. So this is where I toss it to our panel now, and we'll start out with Allie and ask, Allie, do you agree or disagree with these conclusions? And tell us why. If you do agree, also tell us what you think about how did it happen? How did we get here?
I agree to the fact that the parties are now divided based on the election, the most recent election alone. But at the same time, I kind of want to explore the options of what our society would be like without the two parties. What do you see the election coming to? What do you see that the opinions and the assertives come to? What would you say if we didn't have the parties at all?
I think that's a very good point, Allie. And one of the things I think sometimes is that if you're blue, if you're a Democrat, if you're red, or Republican, you often feel like you have to feel and think and respond in a certain way. And I think now we find a growing number of independents. More and more people are not claiming to be red or blue, Democrat or Republican. They're embracing an ideology and choosing to have the freedom to pursue that idea versus being locked in to, well, the Democrats think this way, so that's the way I have to think, or the Republicans think this way, that's why I have to think that way.
So I think obviously we're all three in agreement on that, but the larger question, and we're going to dive into it a little bit more later in the show, but the larger question would be, for both of you, how did we get here? And we'll talk about it a little bit later, but Jim, any thoughts on how did we get from not quite so divided to more so divided than ever before?
Well, the thing that I think of is a conversation I had with a former parishioner, the late Congressman Paul Gilmore. He would talk about the good old days of politics when Democrats and Republicans would argue and debate and fight each other, if you will, with their words, debating over certain issues. But then, after the session was over, they would go to a local restaurant. They would talk about their families. They would talk about their kids, their grandkids. Then they would find a middle road. They would find that middle spot. And then when they would come back in the next day, they had found their middle ground and they approached the middle ground. It seems to me that if you look over these last 20 years, we have become so adamant about getting our own way. We've lost the middle ground. And with the rise of social media, and we seem to lose that relationship. We don't talk to anybody face to face anymore, and I think all of that together, a loss for embracing the middle road, and a loss of just having relationships face to face with people. We forget how to act with people.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think we'll be talking a little bit more about that later in the show. Allie, anything to add to how we got here?
I would agree with Pastor Jim's point. At the same time, I do think it comes from the growing population as well. The fact that there are more people, there are more opinions, there are more generations believing in different things at different times. And so I think it also comes back to the root of our own being and where it comes from evolution. Like, you have that innate need and that sense to belong to an identity. There is an us and there is a them. And so there needs to be a common enemy for a certain number of people to come together and cooperate with one another. So if there is an us there and there is them, there's someone you can argue with, there's someone you can agree with, there's someone that will support you and protect you, and there's someone that they will support you and protect you against. So I would believe that it's based on evolution.
I hope that the evolution, I think part of the reason we're all here is we hope that evolution can, maybe the pendulum can kind of start to swing back to the days that Jim was describing. Just a quick example for those viewers who aren't old enough to remember, when Ronald Reagan was president and Tip O'Neill was the Speaker of the House, of course, Reagan a Republican and O'Neill a Democrat, ideologically they probably could not have been more divided. But somehow, as Jim was describing, the two of them were able to get a lot of great legislation passed for the country because of that relationship that Jim was describing. They were able to have breakfast, lunch, or dinner, go out to the golf course or whatever, and work through that ideological divide to come to the compromises that actually could help America. But before we continue with the discussion, I want to let you know that Faith in America Today is available on Thursdays by 9 p.m. Eastern Time. And Jim, would you share with our audience the True Chat mission?
Well, Faith in America Today is proud to be a True Chat Network show. And True Chat's mission is to be the mortal enemy of speculation, innuendo, and stagnation. We will champion informed opinions and fresh ideas. True Chat will prove that media can be trusted, relied on, and responsible. We won't join the media elite because we're setting a new standard, a higher standard, the True Chat standard.
And to ensure that this show maintains the highest ethical standards, we make it easy for you to voice any concerns with today's episode by emailing ethics@truechat.org. Again, that's ethics@truechat.org.
We are all indeed very proud to be a part of the True Chat Network. But now let's get back to our discussion, and I want to throw out a theory of what may be contributing to this problem of polarization in America. I want to cite from an article on a website called Lost in Media. And they say that in the modern information age, overload is experienced as distracting and unmanageable information on a daily and even hourly basis. This includes tweets, text, emails, and the endless stream of interesting articles on Facebook, those viral videos that we can't help but click on, the many phone photos and videos we take, the fleeting Snapchat stuff. We've created information in the last 10 years, more information in the last 10 years, now get this, than we have in all of human history before that. And that results, there are 5 causes to this information overload, according to that website. First is a rapidly increasing rate of new information being produced. Secondly, the ease of duplication and transmission of data across, obviously, the internet. Third, an increase in the available channels of incoming information. So many ways to get this new information. Fourth, contradictions and inaccuracies in the information that's available. And finally, that there's no credible, easy method for comparing and processing all this different kind of information. So, Allie, I ask you basically, do you agree or disagree with what this website, Lost in the Media, has put forth as a theory for why we are more polarized? And just any thoughts you might want to share about your experience with information overload.
Well, I just want to address the first point that you made, the fact of a rapidly increasing rate of new information being produced. And I don't necessarily think that it's a necessary amount of new information, but rather like more outlets and more sources of what is seen as possibly like irrelevant information. And the fact that we're focused on celebrities' lives and weight loss plans and if someone got a new dog the other day, I don't know, something that's not necessarily as important as political parties. And so I don't necessarily think it's it's amount-wise, but it's the sources that it comes from. Because now you have your phone, you have your tablets, you have your computers, your laptops, your desktops, your TVs, your watches now tell you the news. And so is it news about something that may be important to you, but maybe not important to somebody else? So is that a question that is posed as well?
I agree. Jim?
Well, I think today, I agree that there is a rapidly increasing amount of information. It's just so much noise to me. It's kind of like trying to take a drink from a fire hydrant. It just comes at you a mile a minute. And then being someone like myself who enjoys ADD and attention deficit disorder, I find it just hard to keep up with everything and then to sort through and to know what do I need to pay attention to? And when you see it, what is truth? Because a lot of times information contradicts itself, and you don't know what to believe sometimes. It's just a lot of commotion.
Well, there's been studies that have shown there's been like development of ADD and ADHD and kids getting younger and younger with age, simply based on the fact that so many young children now have such access to like tablets and stuff of their own. And so that has developed ADD and attention span of like, I think less than 3 seconds or something of a child, which is unfortunate because then they go into school and they go into the workforce not necessarily having the attention span or the work ethic of people of previous generations. So then teachers don't know how to deal with them, so we need to train teachers differently. And then it ends up affecting everyone in the entire world. It's not just the fact of having the small things, but it affects our future generations as well.
And I wonder if part of the ADD and the difficulty consuming, digesting, and learning how to sort through and find the important stuff in all this information, part of it is just maybe, I don't know, are we plugged in, more hours a day than we ought to be? I know an awful lot of young people today are pretty much plugged in to this constant feed of information 24/7. Excuse me. But one possible solution to polarization, let's explore this theory. One possible solution, our favorite part of the show each week, is where we start talking about maybe ways that we can hack away and suppress the polarization. Maybe we could all be better neighbors by unplugging once in a while, getting up close and personal with those who aren't like ourselves. They don't look like us. They don't talk like us. Maybe we should try to unplug and get with them face to face once in a while and listen to them and offer our support for their position, even if it's different from ours. Now, on the screen, we're putting up an image. And this is an image that went viral a couple of weeks after the election. You're looking at 53-year-old Justin Normand from Dallas, Texas. Justin was infuriated by reports of calls to ban Muslims and stop immigration of Muslims altogether in the United States. He also heard reports of kicking out a bunch of Muslims that are already here. And Justin is the manager of a sign shop in Dallas, Texas. And so he did what he's great at. He made a sign. And then he drove out to a nearby Islamic center and spent most of his day standing on the street in front of this mosque, holding up his sign for all to see. And as you can see, his sign read, "You belong. Stay strong. Be blessed. We are one American." One America. Justin is a Presbyterian, a devout Christian, and he credits his inspiration for doing this to both his Christian faith and his personal experiences with bigotry as a gay man. Justin told People magazine, "I only said what's in millions of people's hearts." He did it unplugged. He did it up close. He did it personally. And now he's admired around the world as the ultimate good neighbor. So, Allie, what do you think about this guy, Justin, what he did in Dallas, Texas a week or so ago? And is there any validity to this thought that maybe if we could all unplug a little bit more often and get with people face to face, maybe we'd make some headway?
I think this is a great response to all the negative media that is being shown. It's really nice to have a small positive remark, but unfortunately the fact of the matter is that he is one single man and he is one person that did this. We need to see more people like this. We need to see more actions. We need to see more movements. We need to see people who are inspired and show a strong, I guess, opinion about this. That there's all so many people talking about how negative media is, how negative certain aspects have come out of it, but no one has actually done anything and stepped forward like something that this man has done. Not individually anyway. There's been groups that have come to surface and made statements, but at the same time there's no one that has stood out in front. I think part of it is also due to the fact of just the risk of it. There's a lot of danger in the sense that they could be attacked, that they could be assaulted.
You got to be brave to do what he did.
Exactly,
Yeah.
and so I think there just need to be more brave people.
Yeah, more brave people. Jim?
Well, I think that, again, it was a wonderful story and a neat thing the gentleman did. It's the idea that, it's easy to be critical of someone, something, a view, if you're not connected to that view at all. If you're not, you disagree with something, but once you then cross the bridge or make a bridge and develop a relationship with somebody, then I think you find out a little more about them and you feel more comfortable. And then maybe your views will change because, if you will, you unplugged yourself from all the other noise around you and just sought to reach out and touch that life or the person, or in this case, a Christian reaching out to a Muslim and finding in that relationship there's a lot more there than meets the eye.
Wonderful. Let's, before we close with Allie's holiday wish and Jim's unplugged old Jerusalem story, I want to wish all of you a wonderful, hopefully more unplugged than normal holiday, and let you know that we're taking a short holiday break, and the next episode of Faith in America Today will be released on Thursday, January 12th by 9 p.m., and then every Thursday from then on. Now, in order to make that happen, we do need you to continue supporting this mission with your donations. Producing and publishing these shows does have a cost associated, and we can't do it without your help. So please go to faithinamerica.today, no .org, no .com, just faithinamerica.today. Click on the donate button and help us continue this cause to suppress polarization and learn how to get along a little bit better. And while you're there, Jim, at Faith in America Today, what else do you want to do?
Well, while you're there, you can connect to us on social media. and share your comments and suggestions of upcoming episodes.
And if you haven't already, make sure you download TrueChat's mobile app. You can connect with TrueChat on social media right in the app or on their website, truechat.org. That's TRUECHAT.org. TrueChat's network offers a great lineup of shows on sports and politics to entertainment, business, lifestyle, and so much more. So make sure you explore everything that they have to offer. So my holiday wish this season is that everyone just put down their phones at holiday meals. One of my biggest concerns and biggest pet peeves is the fact that everyone is constantly on their phones when they're supposed to be socializing with others. So even if you're just texting your mom or texting your aunt or texting your cousin, just put it down and actually have a conversation with them. Have some sort of real face-to-face one-on-one interaction. But other than that, I mean, continue to have faith in America.
And while we're talking about being unplugged and being a good neighbor, it kind of reminds me of an experience I had back in 1991. I had the opportunity to go to Israel and visit all the wonderful sites of that holy land. And while there, it was a kind of a crazy time because in 1991, Saddam Hussein was threatening to shoot Scud missiles at Tel Aviv and Jerusalem, and this was right at the same time we were there. And also, while we were there, we were visiting the Sea of Galilee, and we hear this shooting off into the horizon, if you will. And well, there was a UN Jeep with a machine gun on the back, and they were shooting at a vehicle in front of them. And so we had these, it was just kind of an experience where we saw these peaceful sights, and then the reality of the world was around us as well. And then we had the precious opportunity to visit a Palestinian school. It wasn't a political visit or anything like that. That was just a stop on our way because this was a part of a mission of the United Methodist Church, which I'm a part of. And while there, I had a chance to talk to a woman who was at the time in her 70s, and she asked me how I was enjoying my trip to the Holy Land, to Israel, to Palestine. And I said, well, it's been wonderful. I've enjoyed the sights. It's neat to go and to observe where Jesus walked and to see many of the holy sites recorded in Bible history. I said, but it's also been kind of weird because of all the
kind of scary
things that were going on. And so she said this, and I want to share this with you. I wrote it down so I wouldn't forget everything. She said, there was a time before the creation of a Jewish state that Palestine was a progressive country where Palestinian Muslims, Jews, and Christians all largely lived in peace, harmony, and cooperation together for many, many centuries. She said, if there ever was a geographical area in the world where Muslims, Jews, and Christians lived harmoniously together, it was in Palestine. She even told me that part of Jerusalem, which I always refer to as Old Jerusalem or historic Jerusalem, was years ago made up of Muslims, Jews, and Christians. And she said, we all got along wonderfully. As a Christian, she said, I had Muslim and Jewish friends. Our families celebrated birthdays and weddings together, and we mourned together at funerals. She then quoted Psalm 133, verse 1, which says this, how good and pleasant it is when God's people live together in unity. She said, I witnessed that kind of unity here years ago, and I long for the day when it returns. And don't we all? And I think we can get to that if we be that good neighbor, if we unplug ourselves from all the noise around us, if we set down our phones, our iPads, and whatever, and just find a way to develop relationships with one another. Developing those relationships, I think, is the key to moving on and bringing our country together again in a positive, wonderful way.
Well, thank you, Jim, and thank you, Allie. I think it's been a great discussion today. Love the old Jerusalem story. I hope it kind of sticks with all of you out there over the holiday. And thank all of you very much for tuning in. For Faith in America Today, broadcasting from Studio 2A in Cincinnati, Ohio, I'm Tim Weller.
I'm Jim Lillibridge.
I'm Allie Matuzik.
And we'll see you next time on Faith in America Today. Be the change.